There are games that make sense. There are games that don't make sense. And there's also games that are just flat out weird. And for the Carolina Hurricanes and their 4-1 loss to the Utah Hockey Club, this was pretty much all but weird as they get some extra salt in the wound following a 1-2-0 road trip.
Your Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to a Thursday edition of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you to the everydayer for making this your first listen of the day. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, talking everything about your Carolina Hurricanes. I'm your host, Zach Martin. I'm the credentialed Carolina Hurricanes beat writer over at the Hockey Writers, or I also do a column on the Chicago Wolves called Wolves Weekly. I'm the co-host of the Search Cast, which is a weekly Carolina Hurricanes podcast, along with all of my duties here at Locked On Hurricanes. Got a Thursday show for you guys where we're going to immediately do takeaways from the Hurricanes' 4-1 loss to the Utah Hockey Club. Not much of a recap. That's going to be kind of mixed in with the takeaways overall. That's just because of how weird of a game it was. And then later on, we're going to listen to Rod Brind'Amour in his post-game press conference and give my thoughts on what he said during that. But before we jump into everything, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And like I said, it's one of those things where welcome to your non-granddad's NHL, where there's no easy games anymore. There's no layups. And it's one of those things where, and I said it in the pre-game episode that we had for Wednesday, numbers can look one thing, but it's what you do on the ice with it. Unfortunately, the Carolina Hurricanes just lost at the wrong time to a hot goaltender that just wasn't figured out. And there was a 5-minute stretch where they got caught and Utah capitalized on it. I mean, you got to give your flowers to just how Vejmelka played for Utah. Stopped 49 of 50 shots for the Hurricanes, especially in a game when you're out shooting Utah 50-21, 15-18 in the first period, 17-5 in the second, 18-8 in the third. I think at one point, Corey Laviolette, there was like 17 high danger chances that the Hurricanes had, and somehow Vejmelka stopped like all 17 of them. It's one of those nights where you hate to say it, and I know it's such a cliche thing, and I know people hate it too, but it's like you got goalied. And, you had some little extra veggies on the side because Vejmelka that's his nickname is Veggie. And he served up a whole plate of vegetables and some ranch because he just was stopping everything basically outside of the one goal the Hurricanes had, which was a power play goal, thanks to Martin Nietzsche's, which keeps his point streak to 11 games. And that was pretty much the highlight for the Hurricanes that night. And it's just, like I said, it's one of those games where it happens to everyone. Every good, great, fantastic team is going to get goalied like that. You're going to have a goalie who's going to come in and absolutely steal the show, and you can throw everything plus the kitchen sink and the car and whatever you can throw the entire salt flats at Vejmelka, and he would stop pretty much everything, which is insane to think about. But that's just the night he had, and unfortunately the Hurricanes caught the wrong end of it. And, you go 1-2-1-0 on a 3-game road trip, which isn't ideal. You would hope to go at least 2-0-1, 2-1-0, but unfortunately you get 2 out of a possible 6. It's not ideal. But also look at it on this too. The fact that the Hurricanes are still 11-4, they're still within striking distance of the Devils, which we have games in hand on. It's just you kind of have to look at this road trip being like, hey, it is what it is. You caught a very upset Avalanche team. You go into Vegas, impose your will, get a great win against a good team, And then, unfortunately, in your first ever trip to Salt Lake City in Utah, you just run into a hot goal. You run into a goalie who decided to embody Dominic Hasek and Patrick Waugh at the same time. It's just, what can you do about it? So it's then the crazy part too is the fact that the Hurricanes got their one power play goal. On the fact that they also had 6 opportunities total, and Utah had 25 penalty minutes. Of course, it comes off the back of Carcone getting a 2-minute instigator, a 5-minute fighting major, and also a misconduct. Because for whatever reason, this is why I said this is the epitome of a weird game for the Hurricanes. It looks like he throws a hit on Tyson Jost on the side wall. Okay, no big deal. He threw a hit, puck's in transition. And then all of a sudden through the neutral zone, he just decides to jump Jack Drury because he was the nearest guy, I guess. And Jack was not even ready for it, had no interest in it. Of course, that's why. And then Carcone's trying to throw punches at him, and Jack's just trying to fend for his life because it's like he's not expecting for someone to come out of nowhere and get him. And, of course, that's when the Hurricanes got a whole bunch of penalty minutes. And, of course, at one point they're on a 5-on-3, but we'll hear from Rod Brind'Amour later on how that went for them, and just the fact that it didn't amount to anything. It was just this is probably the first time I'll probably see it through the season so far. If there's another game, let me know if I've missed one in terms of what I've looked at that. This was uncharacteristically a weird non-Canes game that you can think of from what you've seen so far from this team 15 games into the season. I would say this is probably the first time there was an uncharacteristic game from them. You could maybe say Colorado, how the second period went. Maybe the Blues, because of how that game won, they lose 4-3. But if you want to look at a game where the Hurricanes absolutely dominated the shot totals, dominated the high danger chances, for whatever reason, get absolutely jumped for no reason on a instigator penalty, and then lose like that 4-1, where the goalie stops 49 or 50 shots. Yeah, I would say it's a very uncharacteristic game of how some of the things went for them. And it's just, unfortunately, experienced Canes hockey. If you know, you know. It was just weird. It's just not. It stinks that you lose a game like that because you're looking at Utah. You're like, okay, they're 6-6-3. They're not scoring a lot. They're giving a bunch of goals. Their faceoffs are probably their best total right now. Most of the team is still a lot of the guys from the Arizona squad that moved over. It's just, like I said, it's no gimme nights. There's not like, okay, here's 2 points. We can just go and score 2 or 3 goals and we're done. It's just somehow every team will find a way to steal and win, especially if you have a goalie who does something like that. And that's what Utah did. And unfortunately, the first ever matchup between the two sides, Utah now leads the all-time series 1-0. And if you're Carolina, like, what's next? I know you got a back-to-back against Ottawa on Saturday at 7, and then you got St. Louis at 5 on Sunday. You got to get ready for that, because now you have 2 days off, not having any games. You're traveling back from Utah. You just lost a really weird one. So, like, what's next for you? Do you look at this road trip and be like, hey, it is what it is? You shake it off. You look at the tape, know what you need to do to get ready for the next one, and kind of just forget about it. Or do you let it linger, and, does it hurt you for another 2 or 3 games, which you kind of hope it does, because right now the Hurricanes are playing some great hockey outside of maybe 1 or 2 games where you're kind of just like, okay, this could have been a Canes one, or like this, this kind of went sideways early, but it's just, what can you do? This is a what can you do game. This is of course the goalie would find a way to just goalie himself into it, where it's the Hurricanes, like I said, they threw pretty much everything outside of their families at the net. And it's just somehow didn't work for them. And outside of that too, there's a lot of other things that happen that you're kind of like, okay, hopefully it's nothing too serious. Hopefully they can figure it out. So there are some extra salt in the wound type stuff we have to talk about. So stick around, as I'll have to go over that here in the second segment on a Thursday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. The World Series, the Super Bowl, the Olympics. The world's top athletes get to play in these top-level sporting events thanks to one thing: teamwork. And teamwork can also protect your financial legacy and your family's future. SelectQuote's licensed insurance agents are the perfect teammates when shopping for customized, affordable life insurance that you can't find that can find you the right policy to keep your financial legacy safely in your family's end zone. In sports, winning is everything. That's why you always need a good strategy to help you keep you moving forward towards the goalpost. Winning strategies for life are just as important. Other life insurance brokers offer impersonal, one-size-fits-all policies that may cost you more and cover you less, while SelectQuote's licensed insurance agents work for you to tailor a life insurance policy for your individual needs in a little less than 15 minutes. Head to SelectQuote.com and a licensed insurance agent will call you right away with the right policy for your life and your budget. Get the right life insurance for you for less at SelectQuote.com/LockedOnNHL. Go to SelectQuote.com/LockedOnNHL today to get started. Once again, that is SelectQuote.com/LockedOnNHL. Welcome back to segment 2 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. It's like at the end of segment 1, we're going to talk about some, unfortunately, extra salt in the wound type situations for the Hurricanes after losing 4-1 to the Utah Hockey Club. Pyotr Kochertkov left the game early in the second period left the game early because it seemed like after Utah's second goal, he was down on the ice for a while, got off it, went straight to the dressing room, and Spencer Martin had to finish the rest of the game. Now, when we listen to segment 3, Rod Brind'Amour, we'll talk about Pyotr Kochertkov, but, as of right now, there's no real updates. We don't know what the extent is. Hopefully it's nothing too terrible, because right now, if you lose Pyotr Kochertkov right now, it could be for a week. It could be whoever knows how long. Hopefully it's 0 games, especially the fact that you got no games for the next couple of days. So hopefully they can kind of get evaluated. Maybe it's nothing serious and he comes back and is ready for the weekend. But sake of argument, if Pyotr is out for the weekend back-to-back, you are in a pretty tight spot if you're the Carolina Hurricanes, because now you have Spencer Martin as your starting goaltender, as your third goalie on the depth chart. Do you call up Jan Peretz to be the backup and have your fourth string goalie be your backup on your NHL roster? Or do you bring someone on as a PTO? I don't know what goalies are even available right now. I know James Reimer just got claimed by Buffalo again. I don't know what a weird year he's been having, getting put on waivers and claimed and then put back on waivers. It's just right now, if you're the Hurricanes, you've got to hope Pyotr Kochertkov is fine, because then you're looking at your third string. Like I said, you're looking at your third string goalie as your starter. Do you look at possibly your fourth stringer, whoever that is, in Kaisev or Peretz that comes up and backs it up Martin, especially on a back-to-back with Ottawa and St. Louis coming to town? Or do you go and see what free agency has and maybe do a PTO, or maybe do some weird CBA hockey thing that's way above my pay grade? But it's just, Like I said, I hope Piotr's fine. It stinks to see when you're already having a game that's going sideways, especially in a 5-minute span where you give up 2 goals to put yourself from a 1-1 tie game to a 3-1 deficit, and then ultimately losing 4-1. So it's just, you don't want to see that, especially how good Piotr's been playing all season. I mean, you're on a 7-game winning streak. You're 8-1-0. It's like you're playing great hockey. By the time he gets hurt, it's like it's barely 2-1. It's like, what more can you really ask of the guy for how good he's been playing, and now he's hurt. You don't know what the extent is. We're not probably going to know until either like later Thursday, probably Friday. Who knows? We might even know anything until the weekend. So it's just we're in an unfortunate wait-and-see pattern, and it's not a pattern you really want to be in, especially for the fact that Frederick Anderson is still out with no timetable really ready to go for him. So you already lost your 1A goaltender as the season started. You lose your 1B who turned into your 1A, who's been playing phenomenal hockey for you since his loss against St. Louis, where he's won 7 straight games. And now you're down to possibly your third-string goalie being your main starter, with a possibility of bringing one of the young guys up from Chicago to be the backup. And, here's a back-to-back to really throw you into some waters. Or is it do you go find someone for whatever contract thing that works for the team at the time? It's not a good spot to be in. So like I said, hopefully everything is okay with Pyotr Kochertkov. Hopefully everything you can kind of get figured out if you're the Carolina Hurricanes. But yeah, it's a sad situation to see. You hate to see it, but it's unfortunate. What can you really do? And now here comes the part where it's one of my things was the big boys needed to step up in the game. And yes, Sebastian Aho did get an assist, but he had 2 shots all game in 21 minutes and 58 seconds, finished with a -1. Now, Martin Necas, I mean, him and Robinson and Kotkaniemi finished with -4s and a -3, but I mean, they played a good amount of minutes. And unfortunately, that's just the line that got absolutely just hosed by Utah at the time. So it stinks when your best line, who's usually playing really well, gets kind of tagged with a bunch of minuses. Like every guy on the defense got tagged for a minus. Chatfield and Orlov -2, guys to spare Burns, Walker, and Slade all -1s. It just wasn't a game you would think of for the Carolina Hurricanes. It's an unfortunate one where, Kochetkov, gives up 3 goals. Spencer Martin gives up the last one. It's unfortunate. It's an unfortunate game overall, but but going back to what I was saying with the big boys, you look at Andrei Svechnikov. Yes, he had 7 shots, which tied Jackson Blake. Roslovic had 5. Drury had 4 with Kotkaniemi and Necas. Jordan Staal had 3. If you're Sebastian Aho, how are you only having 2 shots in almost 22 minutes of ice time? One of them was a 5-on-3. Like I said, it's like, yes, he's almost close to a point per game, but you kind of expect him to be. I'm going to give Sebastian Aho a hard time, but it's just, for me, it's you have to be the guy to step up for the Hurricanes right now. And that's what you need to be doing. Like, I'm sorry, you can't have 2 shots in that time span with a lot of power play minutes. Almost 22 minutes of ice time. You have 2 total shots on 23 shifts. Yes, it's a weird game overall for the whole team. Yeah, it stinks that your second line, who's pretty much been your best line all season so far, gets tagged with 2 -4s and a -3. Every guy on the defense got tagged with a minus. But if you're Sebastian Aho, man, yes, and Andrei Svechnikov had 7 shots. That's great. You expect him to shoot the puck. Roslovic, same thing. But you can't have your quote unquote superstar player, the guy who might be the heir apparent to the captaincy, just go into a game against Utah and have 2 shots in 22 minutes. I'm sorry, what is that? Yeah, okay, great. He got an assist. I'm happy he got a point. But like I said, you should expect your big guys to come out and dominate. And overall, as the team lost by the Hurricanes and went sideways in the span of 5 minutes, and it just kind of sucked them. And what can you do? But you can't have your superstar player that everyone considers a superstar if you're in Carolina to not do a whole lot. And like I said, I love Sebastian Aho. I think he's a great player. I'm really high on him. But this is the type of game where I'm looking at going, okay, you're down. You should find a way to claw back in. But it's like, how can you have a 5-on-3? You're down 4-1. Yes, it stinks to be down 4-1 when you get a 5-on-3. But you had 6 power play opportunities and you get 2 shots. Like, you basically had a shot per almost every 11 minutes. You can't have that. I don't know. If you think I'm being too harsh on Sebastian Aho, let me know. If you think I'm right in the fact that, like, you kind of expect a bigger game from a guy like that outside of getting an assist, let me know that too, because I'm at a loss for how we know how good Sebastian Aho is. I know how great of a player he is. Yes, he's almost a point per game player, but you can't have games like that. You have to put the team on your back when they're struggling and do something about it, especially when you beat Vegas 2 days before 5-2. I don't know. Like I said, in the comments or on X or Blue Sky, if you're on Blue Sky now too, let me know if I'm wrong. Let me know if I'm wrong on my assessment of Sebastian Aho in this game, or if you kind of see where I'm coming from in terms of how his play has been. But right now, it's just, that's not a game from a guy who you consider to be a superstar with 6 power plays, 2 shots in almost 22 minutes. That's just not something you want to see. All right, well, enough of the salt in the wound type stuff. We're going to listen to Rod Brind'Amour's press conference after the post game. So stick around as we'll do that here in a second on a Thursday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You can just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long with PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best way to get action on sports in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks is the best way to win real money this hockey season. Which players are going off, which ones aren't. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long with PrizePicks. Now, for me, I'm going into a game where do I think Martin Necas is going to get 0.5 points in a game? Or do I think that, let's say, Nathan McKinnon's going to get 1.5 goals in a game? Well, I can do that with PrizePicks. So download the app today and use code LOCKEDONAHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Once again, download the app today and use code LOCKEDONAHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game. Welcome back to segment 3 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. Like I said at the end of segment 2, we're going to listen to Rod Brind'Amour's post-game press conference and get my thoughts on what he's talked about when it comes to Pyotr Kochertkov, the team's unfortunate mistakes in the span of 5 minutes, and just the game overall. So without further ado, listen to Rod Brind'Amour as he meets with media right now.
You're really happy with play. What was the storyline that you saw in the third?
Well, they got a couple quick ones. We had about 3 or 4 minute, I don't even think it was bad. It just we let them get some chances, and then they all went in. I mean, it's just the way it went. Their goalie was obviously the story. I mean, we definitely had enough scoring opportunities, but kind of had that little lull there for a couple minutes, and that cost us.
In terms of the power play,
Yeah.
Did that come down to goaltending as well?
Well, no. I mean, you got to give him credit. I mean, he made some big saves. We kind of, we butchered that, if we're honest. When 5-on-3, you can't hold on to the puck like that. I don't know. We just did some uncharacteristic things there, but at that point it was 4-1, so that wasn't the game. The game was that little segment where we just let them get some opportunities, and like I said, they cashed in.
Speaking of goaltending, do you have any sort of update you can share on Pyotr Kochertkov?
No. I mean, I'm hoping that he's all right. I haven't even checked on him yet, but he did, I guess they get banged up there. I don't know yet.
Big thing to Rod Brind'Amour and the Carolina Hurricanes for that, and pretty much what I've been saying all episode, kind of hear from Rod himself, where 5 minutes of the game kind of went sideways. Hurricanes put themselves in a bad spot where they lost the game that was basically theirs, and then uncharacteristic hockey for them where the power play should have played a lot better, and you go 1 for 6, held the puck for too long, didn't really have the sense of urgency when you're down 4-1, but we've seen them come back from worse deficits, and it's just the urgency wasn't there. It was an uncharacteristic power play, and you go 1 for 6, but not really great if you want to look at it overall as a general aspect. And of course, like I said, hopefully, Pyotr Kochertkov isn't too bad, and hopefully he's ready to go for the weekend, because if not, you're in a tough spot. And like I said, this is just one of those weird games, man, where it just somehow was not in the Hurricanes' favor, to say the least, outside of Martin Necas getting the power play goal to extend his point streak to 11. That was the biggest highlight of the entire night, and unfortunately, it just wasn't one that you want to see in your first matchup against a new club, new barn in the Delta Center. It's an unfortunate game. You hate to see it, but it's just, if you look at it overall, and try and spin it into a positive, you take what you get in the series, in the road trip. You did beat Vegas in a good fashion, so you'll take that. And you had a good start against Colorado. Unfortunately, the second period did you in. What can you do? It's an angry Avs team with Nathan McKinnon and Mikko Rantanen and Kel McCarr and all of that. And then you go into Utah, you're kind of feeling good after the Vegas game, and then just have one of the weirdest ones you've had in a while. It's just, what can you do? Like I said, you look back at the tape, learn from your mistakes, forget it happened, and then get ready for Ottawa and St. Louis this weekend in the back-to-back, and hopefully things change course, and you're looking at 2 more wins, and you're looking at a 13-4 record coming out of the back-to-back. So it's just, in a game where you saw everything go sideways, it was a weird game. So dab a little extra salt in the wound, because, of course, it's Salt Lake City. You just got to take this one and move on from it. And you got to hope that this isn't a trend that's going to keep going on into the weekend and stuff like that too. And I'm just going to keep saying it, and I'm sorry, but Sebastian Aho, Andrei Svechnikov, the guys who you expect to be producing really need to start producing. And I know Svech had 7 shots on the game. That's great. You'll love to see it. Unfortunately, none went in. What can you do when Vejmelka is playing really well? But you got to start seeing him do what Martin Necas is doing, at least putting up multi-point games every so often. Maybe not at the pace that he was doing it, but at least something. But if you're Sebastian Aho, yes, you got an assist. That's a given at this point. We need to see a Sebastian Aho 3-point. This is his game type of night, where he is not a quiet 1 or 2 assists. Like, this is a holy crap Sebastian Aho type game. And right now we haven't seen it yet. And like I said, in a game where you had that many opportunities on the power play, you played almost 22 minutes, you have 2 total shots. Not something you want to see out of, one of your assistant captains and the guy who's supposed to be the heir apparent to the captaincy and what you consider to be your superstar of the team. But overall, like I said, just, it's a weird game. Look back on it. yeah, it's a loss. Everyone loses to everyone in the NHL. Like I said, this isn't your granddad's hockey. There's no gimme. So other than that, like I said, watch the tape, learn, throw it away, get ready for the weekend. But guys, that will wrap up a Thursday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Thank you for making Locked On Hurricanes your first listen every day. For a second listen, make sure to check out Locked On Fantasy Hockey and learn how to beat your other league mates and getting tips from Steal and Flip. Make sure to check out Locked On Fantasy Hockey on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. If you want to keep up with me, I'm at OneTrueZach on X. The podcast is LO_Hurricanes. And if you want to check out the post, just go to the Zachary Martin. Pretty easy to find over there. Yep, just kind of doing what I'm doing on Twitter or X and just kind of reposting all that stuff over there on the Blue Sky as well. I know a lot of people are checking it over there. So kind of the same things you're seeing from me on my socials on X. Same thing on Blue Sky. Like I said, let me at the Zachary Martin over there at Blue Sky. And then there's like a bunch of other dots and stuff behind it, but it's easy to find me over there. If you want to check out the Surgecast, go to the Surgecast on podcast platforms on YouTube. Just search it. Easy to find. For this podcast, Locked On Hurricanes on Apple, Spotify, Google Play. Leave a 5-star rating and review because if you do, I might read it on the show. For YouTube, Locked On Hurricanes. Subscribe, hit the bell notification. Hit the thumbs up button. Let me know if you like the show as well. Let me know in the comments what you thought about my overall takes from today's, from Wednesday night's 4-1 loss to the Utah Hockey Club for your Carolina Hurricanes. Share the podcast with other Caniacs who become everydayers just like you. But I hope everyone enjoyed the Thursday episode of Locked On Hurricanes. Hope everyone enjoys their Thursday night as we have 2 games off before the weekend. And until next time, guys, as always, let's go Canes.